Our next speaker is Toastmaster Chris Miles. First joined Toastmasters Winter Park Toasties 42 years ago as an international architect. He has worked or visited 120 countries around the world, and he is a great traveler. Today, he brings to light an extraordinary personal journey made to the autonomous Republic of Mount Athos in northeastern Greece. As a fluent speaker of the language, he was to visit some of the many monasteries that lie scattered in the rough and mountainous country. Please welcome Toastmaster Miles with his speech, A Sense of Loneliness.
Hey. Extraordinary how Linda has brought to light Albania, and if you look at your map, her map, just a little bit south of Albania, on the other side of the Aegean, is the autonomous Republic of Mount Athos. It's part of a three-finger area called Kalkidiki. It's the southern part. It's 40 kilometers long, and believe it or not, on that very rough land, which culminates in a mountain that is nearly 8,000 feet high, called Athos, are 20 monasteries. Now, monaxia in Greek, which is a new word for you, means a sense of loneliness. And that is the concept behind the word moni or monastery. The whole point is that men, and men only, sorry ladies, you are not allowed to go there, and neither are goats or sheep or cows or anything female. They withdraw from the world and they have to become content with their sense of loneliness. I was fascinated by the idea of going there. And in 1975, I had to learn enough Greek to pass a basic examination. Very difficult to get in. And eventually I arrived in the small port of Daphne, which is the monk's port. No electricity in the 40 miles, nothing. One vehicle only, a bus that took you to Caviers, which is the capital. And there I applied for my monetarium or passport, Greek passport, which is a Byzantine passport written in the Julian calendar. So effectively, I wasn't really there at all. I would have murdered somebody and not be there. I received my monetarium, and the first person I met on the street was Constantine Karamanlis, who happened to be the Premier of Greece. He was just visiting as I was. And so we had a chat. And I set off alone, realizing it was going to be extremely difficult, going from day to day to day, from monastery to monastery to monastery, spending overnight, working in kitchens, cleaning, peeling potatoes, working in the grapes and in vineyards and so on, and then traveling on to the next monastery, which was only maybe 3 miles away. I did so, started traveling with 2 German philological students, and we reached a monastery called the Great Lapra. It was built in 900 AD, and looked at it, it was all falling apart. Spent overnight there, and the monk told me, Mount Athos is straight above us. If you climb to the peak of Mount Athos at dawn, you will meet the Virgin Mary. So that was an inclination for me to start climbing. And we climbed all day. And we reached just about 7,500 foot altitude. We went into a small chapel, froze ourselves to death nearly. In the morning, got up just before dawn and climbed to the very peak where the sun came up. And guess what? The Virgin Mary was a no-show. superb view over a completely forgotten land. Great Lavra was conducting at night the reincarnation of the Last Supper. Monks dressed in yellow, beating themselves, lying on the floor, flapping and crying, Kyrie eleison, which in Greek means Christ have mercy. So this led to 3 more monasteries that got harder and harder to travel in. Climbing by day, robbing the vineyards of grapes, peeling potatoes, and eventually dropping down to spend a miserable night in a dark dormitory with no lights. I met an old monk. I said, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 110. Maybe that's some exaggeration. And have you ever seen a woman? And he said, "No. The only woman I ever saw was my mother." So the tradition was at Mount Athos that some of the children of Greece are basically sent there. They have no way of getting out. They're taken over by the monks and they're brought up, and that's their life. I found it desperately despondent. I was stymied. I hardly knew how I could cope with another whole 4 days or 5 days on track. But in the end, I decided to go back. And last year, with Jerome Calise, who was a Toastmaster, some of you probably know, we visited the coast on a boat with many women not allowed to board. And I was staggered to see how much money was being pumped into Mount Athos. The Russians, in particular, are rebuilding many of the monasteries. And at the end of all of this, I came away with a feeling that it was not for me. Certainly I like women a lot more than being alone. And I could not think of myself as retiring into a sense of loneliness. That monarchia, if you remember that word, monaxia, is the word, and that's a word that stirs very, very many of the young monks who go there. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you.